Okay, here are some road markings. You may cross a solid double yellow line to turn left. Two sets of solid double yellow lines, which are 2 or more feet wide, sometimes appear as a road marking. Such lines stand for a solid wall. Don't drive on or over such a road marking. You may not make a left turn or U-turn across it. Cross only at plainly marked openings. When turning left from a side street or driveway, wait until it is safe, then drive into the center left turn lane. Signal before moving into regular traffic. Enter traffic only when it's safe. You may drive across a center left turn lane. Right turn against a red light. Make a full stop for a red traffic light at the limit line, if there is one, or before entering the intersection. If there's no sign that prohibits a right turn on the red light, you may turn right. Be careful that you do not interfere with pedestrians, bicyclists, or vehicles moving on their green light. Left turn against a red light on a one-way street only. Make a full stop for a red traffic light at the limit line if there is one, or before entering the intersection. On a one-way street, you may turn left onto a one-way street where traffic moves left. There is no sign that prohibits the left turn. If the light is red, be very careful that you do not interfere with the pedestrians, bicyclists, or vehicles moving on their green light. No turn against a red arrow. A right or left turn may not be made against a red arrow. Now here are some examples of right and left turns. Left turn from a two-way street. Start the turn at the left-hand edge of the lane closest to the middle of the street. You may complete the turn in either lane of the cross street, as shown by arrows, if it is safe to do so. You must use a left turn lane if there is one. A left turn from the next lane, shown by the asterisks, may be made if signs or arrows show it is okay. A right turn. The yellow station wagon is turning correctly. It began the turn in the lane nearest to the right-hand curb. It will end the turn in the lane nearest the right-hand curb. Do not swing wide into another lane of traffic. You may start a right turn from other than the far right lane only where pavement or overhead markings show that using that lane for a right turn is permitted. Making a left turn from a two-way street into a one-way street. Start the turn from the far left-hand portion of your side of the road. You may turn into any lane that is safely open as shown by arrows. Making a left turn from a one-way street into a two-way street. Start the turn from the far left-hand portion of your side of the road. The pickup truck may turn into either of the lanes that are safely open as shown. Making a left turn from a one-way street onto a one-way street. The turn must be started from the left-hand portion of the road. Watch for bicycles between your vehicle and the curb because they can legally use the left turn lane for their left turns. Making a right turn from a one-way street into a one-way street. After starting your turn in the far right lane, you may use any lane open to traffic if safe to do so. Sometimes sign or pavement markings will let you turn right from a lane next to the far right lane, shown by the asterisks. Making a turn at a T intersection from a one-way into a two-way street. Through traffic has the right of way. You may turn either right or left from the center lane. Watch for vehicles and bicycles inside your turn. Intersection prohibitive signs. Check for signs and markings that control your movement. Is a traffic signal a yield sign or a stop sign present? Are turns allowed? If so, are they restricted to certain times of the day or to certain types of vehicles? Are there special turning lanes? Check for potential hazards at intersections. Before you make a turn at an intersection, check the roadway for hazards. Choose the correct lane, communicate your intentions, and position the car correctly. Prep for the turn 200 to 300 feet in advance of the intersection.
Traffic signs. A stop sign means that you must make a full stop before entering a crosswalk or at a white limit line. A limit line is a white line painted on the street. When a crosswalk or limit line is not marked, stop at the corner. Check for traffic before crossing. Wait until it is safe before going forward. On divided highways, a stop sign for crossing or turning vehicles is often placed on the island or dividing strip. You must also stop there. When you see this yield sign, slow down. Be ready to stop and let traffic, including people walking or riding bikes, pass before you go ahead. Go only when it's safe.
A red signal light means stop. A right turn can be made against a red light after you stop and yield to pedestrians and the vehicles in your path. Do not turn if there is a sign posted for no turn on red. Flashing red. A flashing red signal light means exactly the same as a stop sign, namely, stop. After stopping, proceed when safe, observing the right-of-way rules. Yellow. A yellow signal light warns you that the red signal is about to appear. When you see the yellow light, you should stop if you can do so safely. If you can't stop, look out for vehicles that may enter the intersection when the light changes. Flashing yellow. A flashing yellow signal light warns you to be careful, slow down, and be especially alert.
Speed and stopping distances. When driving, you always want to allow extra room and time to stop your vehicle because you never know when something unexpected may happen that will require you to stop quickly. Allowing extra space and time will allow you the opportunity to avoid a collision if traffic stops suddenly. You should allow at least a 3-second following distance between you and the vehicle ahead of you. There are times when you should allow a longer following distance of 3 to 6 seconds. Here are some of those times. When driving on slippery roads, allow 6 seconds. When the vehicle behind you wants to pass ahead of you, decreasing your speed allows more distance between you so that it's easier for the vehicle to pull back into the lane. When following a large vehicle like a tractor-trailer that blocks your view of the road ahead, you'll need the extra distance to be able to see around the large vehicle. There are 3 things that add up to total stopping distance: perception distance plus reaction distance plus braking distance equals total stopping distance. Perception distance. This is the distance your vehicle moves from the time your eyes see a hazard until your brain knows it. The perception time for an alert driver is about 3/4 of a second. At 55 miles per hour, you travel 60 feet in 3/4 of a second. Reaction distance. The distance traveled from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot is actually pushing the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second. This accounts for an additional 60 feet traveled at 55 miles per hour. Braking distance. The distance it takes to stop once the brakes are put on. At 55 miles per hour on dry pavement with good brakes, it can take a heavy vehicle about 170 feet to stop, about 4 3/4 seconds. Total stopping distance. At 55 miles per hour, it will take about 6 seconds to stop, and your vehicle will travel about the distance of a football field. 60 plus 60 plus 170 equals 290 feet. By the time your foot hits the brakes, your vehicle has traveled about as many feet forward as the number of miles per hour you are traveling. Reaction time. Use your foot to cover the brake as you proceed through an intersection. By covering the brake pedal, you significantly reduce the reaction time necessary to respond to a hazard and also allow the vehicle to slow by removing your foot from the accelerator. The covering the brake technique can be used effectively in the following situations. 1. When driving next to parked cars. 2. When you see the brake lights of other cars. And 3. When approaching intersections or signal lights. If you are traveling at 50 miles per hour, it will take 50 feet just for you to react and put your foot on the brake. Of course, the stopping distance varies depending on the speed of the vehicle, the type and condition of the brakes and tires, the surface of the road, the weight of the vehicle when loaded or towing, and the skill of the driver in recognizing and reacting to hazards. Below are average braking distances in different conditions in feet.
Large trucks take longer to stop than a car traveling at the same speed. The average passenger vehicle traveling at 55 miles per hour could stop at about 225 feet. That doesn't include reaction time. However, a large truck traveling at the same speed could take more than 400 feet to stop. That doesn't include reaction time either, and their time is going to be longer. Don't pull in front of a large truck and suddenly slow down or stop. The trucker will not be able to stop quickly enough to avoid crashing into you. School buses. You may come upon a school bus that is stopped and is flashing yellow lights. This is a warning for you to prepare to stop because the children are preparing to leave the bus. When you come upon a school bus that's stopped on either side of the road while flashing red lights, you must stop. The flashing red lights are located at the top front and top back of the bus. School children will be crossing the road to or from the school bus. Remain stopped as long as the red lights are flashing. You need not stop if the bus is on the other side of a divided highway. Emergency vehicles. You must yield the right-of-way to a police car, fire engine, ambulance, or other emergency vehicles using a siren and red light. Pull as close to the edge of the road as possible and stop until the emergency vehicle's passed. However, don't stop in an intersection. Continue through the intersection and then pull to the right as soon as you can. Sometimes emergency vehicles will use the wrong side of the street to continue on their way. They sometimes use a loudspeaker to talk to drivers blocking their path.
It is against the law to follow a fire truck within 500 feet and 300 feet of any police car which is answering an emergency call.
You may be arrested if you drive for sightseeing purposes to the scene of a fire, accident, or other disaster. You could interfere with the essential services of police, firefighter, ambulance crews, or other rescue or emergency personnel. You must not drive over unprotected fire hoses.
Move over law. The move over law requires drivers to move over one lane when passing any vehicle with flashing lights that is pulled to the side of the road or highway. This is to help create a safe margin of space when passing. If you cannot move over one lane, then you must slow down and pass with caution. This pertains to all vehicles with flashing lights that have pulled over, including law enforcement and emergency response vehicles, highway maintenance and private vehicles, and tow trucks. This applies to all city roads and streets, all freeways, and other multiple-lane highways. Funerals. Drivers must give the right-of-way to vehicles that are part of a funeral procession led by a funeral escort vehicle with a flashing red or blue light.